So Moshe Rabbeinu says, "VaEtchanan el Hashem va'esahi leimor." I davened, I prayed to God at that time, saying. So the Ishbitzer says, "VaEtchanan." It doesn't mean I prayed, and he had this from his Rebbe, the Rebbe Rabbinim. VaEtchanan means I became filled with prayer, and we know from the Gemara. The Gemara tells the story of Reb Chanina ben Doisa when somebody was ill, then he would pray for them and he would know exactly who's going to live and who's going to die. And they asked him, how do you know? He said, Im tefilosi shkuro b'fi. If my davening comes really fluent. The Hasidic translation of shkuro b'fi isn't fluent, but if I feel like the Reb Chanina ben Doisa is saying, if I feel like that the davening was sent to me as a gift, then I know that the person is going to be saved, and if not, not so much. So a person can feel so full of prayer that the whole body just wants to express itself in davening. And when that happens, then a person knows that it's a gift. It's coming from heaven. A prayer is coming to the person's body as a gift. No, when such a prayer comes to you, surely it means you're going to be answered. Right? Otherwise, why would you be sent such a prayer from heaven? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, "VaEtchanan el Hashem ba'esahi." I became so prayerful at that moment when God swore that I wasn't going to go into the land of Israel. He wasn't going to let me go. Immediately, my body's filled with the desire to daven. I become this davener. No, if that's the case, how come you don't let me go into the land? It's like you sent me this desire to daven. I became prayerful, and now you're saying no. God says, Tim Ravlach, which we usually translate, it's enough. Al Toisef, it's enough. Don't talk to me anymore on this subject. So the Ishbitzer says that's not what that Ravlach means. Ravlach means God says to Moshe, you are going to become the Rov. You are going to become the Rebbe of the davening which comes to a person but which seemingly doesn't get a result or a response or anything positive. Until the end of time, the fact that a Yid can daven, sometimes I think of the 6 million. What kind of davenings? What kind of davening went on in the ghettos? What kind of davening went on in the cities, in the places where people were expecting the worst to happen? What kind of davening came to people when they were trying to protect the children? Millions of people became VaEtchanan. They became full of prayer. What happened to all these tefillos? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Rav Loch, God said to me, you are going to be the Rebbe of all the davenings until the end of time. Even though people think that you're going to stay here in Transjordan and they are going into the land of Israel, even there you're going to be the Rebbe of what? The Rebbe of being able to daven even though you know that God is saying no, has said no, and will say no. Being able to express the davening which is coming from above. What does that mean? God is saying to you, I need you to let me daven. I need you to let me come through you. I need you to allow the Shekhinah to speak out of your throat. Why? It's not your business to ask. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, the fact that I am the Rebbe of the Yidden for thousands and thousands of years is because as soon as God said to me, you're not going into the land. I became filled with prayer and I started to daven, and I didn't hold back 1 minute. And for that, God said, Moshe, you're going to be the Rebbe of the Eden until the end of time. It's not a small thing to allow yourself to become filled with prayer, to become a prayer, and to acknowledge that, the praying that we do when it's real, it's really a gift from heaven. It's the ultimate gift because it means that God wants to come into you to daven, right? So it's like you you step away and allow God to be the Baal Tefillah and to express whatever needs to be expressed in the world. And if for Moshe Rabbeinu the reward was what it was, that he continues to be our Rebbe for thousands and thousands of years, so for each of us, we each of us have that zechus that when we allow ourselves to daven, even knowing that sometimes the answer is no, and again no, that the reward is Rav Lach. You become the Rebbe of that davening until the end of time, till Mashiach comes. And then we'll know. And then God will reveal to us what it is. But this is the whole secret of VaEtchanan. I became a prayer.